The space research station Orion 12 floated silently above the blue planet. Earth. It was a peaceful place where humans and aliens worked together to learn from each other. Inside the bright metal halls, machines hummed gently, and scientists walked with datapads in hand. Tom, a young human technician with a kind smile and messy hair, was busy fixing a food replicator in the agricultural lab. He enjoyed his job, especially when it involved working with different species. His favorite coworker was Nira, quiet and curious alien girl from the planet Valara. Nira was tall, with soft blue skin and long silver hair that moved gently like threads in water. She had two thin antennae on her head that changed color based on her emotions. Right now, they were glowing light green, which meant she was curious. She stood near the back of the lab, staring at a strange machine. It had a large metal ring, with blinking lights and a sign above it that read Growth Field Generator Prototype, Do Not Touch. Tom, Nira asked softly, "What is this large circle thing? It smells like coconuts." "What?" Tom looked up from his work. "Oh, that? It's a growth machine. We use it to make fruits grow faster and bigger for earth farming. That coconut smell is from the test we did earlier." Nira tilted her head. "You grow coconuts in machines?" "Sometimes. But this one's still in testing," Tom said, wiping his hands. "It's not ready yet. Can make things grow plants. Fruits, but only if they're placed inside." The circle and turned on carefully. Nira stepped closer. "Yeah, watch how it works." Tom hesitated. "Well, I was going to run a test soon, but you need to stand at a safe distance, okay?" She nodded eagerly. Tom placed a small coconut sample on a stand in the center of the ring. He turned on the controls, and the lights blinked faster. A low humming sound filled the room. Suddenly, Tom's communicator beeped. "That's from the control room," he said. "It'll just take a minute. Don't touch anything, okay?" Nira nodded again, her antennae now glowing yellow, a sign of excitement. Tom rushed out of the room, left alone. Nira looked at the machine again. The coconut on the stand was glowing faintly. She stepped a little closer, just to see it better. The lights were beautiful. She sniffed the air and smiled, without thinking. She picked up the coconut to examine it, but as she did, her foot accidentally pressed a small switch near the base of the platform. The machine let out a loud beep. The lights turned red. The circle around her began to glow. "Oh," she gasped. Before she could move, a soft wave of energy pulsed through the ring and washed over her body. Didn't hurt. It didn't hurt. It felt warm and strange, like sunlight inside her skin. Then the lights faded. The machine powered down. Nira blinked. She looked around. Nothing seemed different. She still held the coconut in her hand. That was strange, she whispered. Suddenly she felt something odd. Her chest felt ... heavier. Not painful, just ... different. She looked down slowly, and her eyes widened. Her cheeks turned bright purple, the Valeri color of pure embarrassment. Tom returned 5 minutes later, humming a tune. But as soon as he entered the lab, he noticed something was off. The coconut was back on the table, but the machine logs showed an energy pulse. He frowned. "That's weird. I didn't start anything." He checked the logs. "Biological contact detected," the machine said in its soft voice. "Biological." "Someone stepped in during the pulse," he muttered. He looked around Nira. No answer. He walked toward the hallway and saw the door to the observation room slowly closing. He followed quietly inside. Nira sat on the bench, hugging her knees and hiding her face behind her hair. She wore her long lab coat, but it was pulled tightly around her. "Nira," Tom asked softly, "are you okay?" She squeaked in surprise, her antennae shooting straight up. "Tom, nothing happened. I didn't touch the machine." Tom blinked. "Wait, did you go near it?" She looked away. "What?" "Just a little," he sighed and sat beside her. "The machine shows a pulse was triggered. Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "Then what's wrong?" She looked down then. Whispered, something ... changed. Tom looked at her, confused. Changed how? Her cheeks turned even darker. I feel ... big. You mean Nira pointed weakly toward her chest without saying anything? It took him a few seconds. Then his eyes widened. Oh, both of them fell. Silent Tom coughed and looked at the floor. Oh, okay. That explains the coconut smell. Nira groaned and covered her face. I'm really sorry, Tom said. The machine was supposed to be locked. I didn't mean to, Nira mumbled. I just picked up the coconut. It must have triggered the growth field and, well, caught you. They sat in silence again. Then Tom added, trying not to laugh on the bright side. Now you know how powerful it is. Nira gave him a playful glare through her fingers. I'll fix it, he said. I can reverse the pulse. It'll take a day or two, but I promise I'll fix it. Nira nodded slowly. Please do. Tom stood up and offered his hand. Come on, let's go log the accident. Maybe stay away from coconuts for a while. Took his hand, still red-faced. Agreed. As they walked out of the room together, Tom couldn't help but smile a little. He had a feeling this was going to be one very interesting week. Nira walked quickly through the quiet hallway of Orion 12, holding her coat tightly around her. Her heart was beating fast. Every few steps she looked left and right, making sure no one was watching her. She finally reached her small room and shut the door behind her. She sighed and leaned against the wall. Her cheeks were still glowing purple. Never in her life had she felt so strange. The energy from the growth machine had done something weird. Her chest now felt rounder, heavier, and soft in a way that wasn't natural for her people. Her species Valerii did not store extra body mass in that part of the body. But now, after the energy wave, she looked more human. She walked toward the mirror on the wall and looked at herself. Oh no, she whispered. Her reflection stared. Back tall, blue-skinned, silver-haired, and clearly different than before. Her lab coat, which usually fit loosely, now looked tight around her chest. She pulled it tighter in embarrassment. This is all Tom's fault, she muttered, though she knew it wasn't really his fault. She was the one who touched the machine. Still, it made her feel better to blame someone. Meanwhile, Tom sat at his workbench staring at the monitor. The machine logs clearly showed that the growth field had activated for exactly 6.4 seconds. That was more than enough to cause a large change. He scratched his head. I need to reverse this quickly, he said. He opened the machine settings. The reversal program was available, but it needed calibration. More testing, more time. It'll take at least 2 days to make sure it's safe for a living being, he said to himself. I can't risk shrinking her too much or in the wrong place. He leaned back and sighed. This is the weirdest problem I've had in months. Later that evening, Tom walked toward the dining hall. He didn't expect to see Nira there. He thought she'd stay in her room, but to his surprise, she was already sitting at a corner table, wearing a thick, oversized jacket. Her hair was pulled down around her face. She looked like she wanted to disappear. He grabbed a tray of food and sat beside her. Hey, he said. Nira glanced at him, then looked down. Hi. How are you feeling? She didn't answer. I've started working on the reversal program, he said. But I need some time to make sure it's safe. She nodded slightly. I'm really sorry this happened, Nira. I didn't mean for you to get changed like that. I know, she said quietly. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Tom added, you know, you don't look bad. Nira's antennae turned bright purple again. I just mean you're still you. You're not scary or anything. Nira gave a soft laugh. Tom stopped talking. He smiled nervously. Right, stopping now. The next morning, things got worse. Nay entered the lab early, hoping no one else would be there. But 2 human scientists were already working. One of them, a woman named Clara, smiled. Good morning, Nira. Nira nodded quickly and tried to walk past. Clara blinked. Oh, is that a new coat? You look ... different. Nira froze. No, same coat. The other scientist, Ben, leaned over. I think she's trying a new style. It suits her. Nira turned and rushed out of the lab without saying another word. Clara looked confused. Did I say something wrong? Tom appeared at the doorway just in time to see Nira escape. He sighed. Yeah, this might be more embarrassing than I thought. Back in her room, Nira paced back and forth. Why did I come to this station? She muttered. I could be on my home planet studying flowers. But no, I had to come here and get hit by a coconut machine. She stopped and looked at herself in the mirror again. Maybe it's not so bad, she whispered. Still, she couldn't help the heat in her face. Her people weren't used to having body features like this. In Valeri culture, large upper body shapes were usually seen in old statues or myths, not real life. She wondered if Tom truly meant it when he said she didn't look bad. Did he really think that? Or was he just being polite? That night, Tom knocked on her door. She opened it slowly, peeking through. I just wanted to give you an update, he said. I've tested the reversal pulse on fruit and lab animals. It's working. But I still need one more day. Nira nodded. Okay? Also, he said, scratching his head, you don't have to hide so much. People on the station like you. No one's going to laugh at you. Nira looked down. They already noticed. Tom gave a small smile. They noticed something different. It doesn't mean they think it's bad. There was silence. Then Nira said softly, Tom, on your world are coconuts considered special? Tom blinked. They're tasty. Good for hair. Some people really like them. Nira stared at him. Why does your growth machine work only on coconuts then? Tom laughed. It doesn't. That was just a test, I swear. Finally, Nira smiled too. It was small, but real. Thank you for helping, she said. Tom nodded. Always. Night, Nira sat on her bed, looking out the window at the stars. She felt nervous, but not alone. Maybe this strange accident was more than just a mistake. Maybe it was the beginning of something new, something she didn't fully understand yet. All she knew was that the next day would bring more surprises, and hopefully fewer stares. But deep inside, part of her wondered, what if Tom really did? Like the change? And with that thought, her cheeks turned purple again. The next morning, the space station Orion 12 buzzed with soft activity. Machines hummed, lights blinked, and crew members moved through the halls with sleepy faces and hot drinks in their hands. Inside her room, Nira stood in front of the mirror. Again, she was wearing her thickest lab coat and had wrapped a scarf around her neck twice. Her long silver hair was tied into a loose braid, covering most of her shoulders. Her antennae glowed a soft pink, the color of nervousness. I can do this, she whispered. Just act normal. Act like nothing happened. She took a deep breath and stepped out into the hallway. As she walked toward the lab, a few people passed by. Some smiled and said good morning. Others gave small nods. But Nira could feel their eyes following her for just a moment too long. Are they looking? She thought. Or am I just imagining it? She lowered her head and walked. Faster. When she entered the lab, Tom was already there, fixing a broken circuit board. He looked up and gave her a small wave. Morning, he said. Nira waved back, but didn't speak. She went straight to her desk and turned on her terminal, pretending to check data files. Her cheeks were already getting warm. Tom noticed her quiet behavior. Everything okay? Yes, she replied quickly. He didn't believe it, but he didn't push. Instead, he walked over to her with a datapad. I ran another test this morning, he said. The reversal pulse worked on a watermelon. This time, so it's safe for soft mass. Nira blinked. You tested it on a watermelon? Tom nodded proudly. Yep, it shrunk to normal size without damage. No leaks, no explosions. Nira raised an eyebrow. Watermelons explode? Only once, Tom said. We don't talk about that day. For the first time that morning, Nira smiled. Smiled. Real smile. Later, during the lunch break, the crew gathered in the dining hall. The tables were full of chatter, and food trays clinked against metal. Nira entered carefully, hoping to grab her meal and eat somewhere quiet. But as she passed a group of younger crew members, she heard whispers. Is that her? Someone whispered. Yeah. That's the alien girl from Lab 4. She looks different now, right? Nira's face turned deep purple. She grabbed her. tray and walked faster. At her table, Tom was waiting with 2 cups of juice. "I got your favorite," he said, offering the blue fruit juice that reminded her of home. "Thanks," she said quietly, sitting down. She sipped the drink slowly, trying to ignore the voices in the background, but her antennae kept twitching. Tom leaned closer. "Want to know something funny?" She looked at him. "You're not the first person to get hit by that machine," he whispered. Nira's eyes widened. "Really?" "Yep. Last month it made. A tomato the size of a chair, rolled off the table, and chased a guard down the hallway." Nira giggled. "That sounds like a dream I had once." They laughed together, and for a few moments, the pressure she felt faded away. That evening, Nira walked to the observation deck, hoping to clear her mind. The stars stretched across the black sky like tiny diamonds. Earth spun slowly below. Glowing with lights and clouds, she sat on the bench and pulled her scarf tighter. Then she heard footsteps. Tom appeared, carrying a small box. "Thought I'd find you here," he said. "What's that?" He opened the box. Inside were small pieces of coconut candy, made in the station's kitchen. "I figured if coconuts are causing so much trouble, we should at least enjoy them." Nira laughed and took one. "They're sweet." "Like you," Tom said, without thinking. They both froze. Tom's eyes widened. "I mean, I like the candy." "You, candy, you." Nira looked away, smiling. "It's okay." They sat in silence, watching the stars. Then Nira said softly, "I've never felt this way before. Not just the change, the people looking at me, whispering I don't know how to handle it." Tom nodded. "Yeah, humans can be weird sometimes, curious, loud, and not always polite." "But you're different," she said. He looked at her. "So are you." Nira smiled again. "I was scared when I first got here. Everything was new. Big, loud. But now, I think I'm glad I came." Tom chuckled. "Even with the coconut curse," she playfully elbowed him. "Even with that." The next day, things started changing. Nira stopped hiding so much. She still wore her coat, but now she smiled more. She spoke to other crew members and even joined a small science discussion group. Some people still stared, but now she stared back with confidence. She wasn't just the alien girl with coconuts anymore. She was Nira, the smart Valeri scientist who worked hard, helped her team, and didn't run from strange accidents. Tom continued working on the reversal machine, but every time he asked Nira if she wanted to run the process, she would shrug and say, "Maybe tomorrow." He began to wonder if she had already decided to keep the change. One afternoon, as they finished a long day of work, Tom and Nira sat together in the lab. Tom leaned back in his chair. "You know, this whole thing has been kind of crazy." Nira nodded. "Yes, but also fun." Tom looked at her for a moment. "I'm glad I met you, Nira." She turned to face him. "I'm glad I met you too, Tom." Her antennae glowed soft pink. Tom smiled. "So, dinner? Just us?" Nira looked at him for a moment, then nodded. "I'd like that." They stood and walked out of the lab side by side. The rumors would probably never stop. People would still talk, but Nira no longer cared, because now she wasn't just blushing from embarrassment. She was blushing because something special was growing, and this time it wasn't just coconuts. A few days had passed since Nira had stopped hiding in her room. Life on Orion 12 had started to feel normal again for both her and Tom. People still whispered sometimes, but most had moved on. Some even smiled at her when she walked by, and a few called her brave for handling the accident so well, even though the strange effect of the growth machine remained. Nira had learned to carry herself with more confidence. She walked straighter, spoke louder, and even laughed more often. But one afternoon, something happened that made her cheeks turn brighter than ever before. It all began with a message from her home planet. Nira sat in the small communication room, staring at the blinking screen. A message had arrived from her parents on Valara. She hadn't spoken to them since before the accident. Her fingers hovered nervously over the button. She pressed it. A moment later, Two blue-skinned faces appeared. Her mother and father, both, looked kind and gentle, with glowing smiles and soft eyes. Nira. Her mother said, "You look different." Nira's antennae twitched. "Mother." "There was a small accident." Her father leaned forward. "Your body, what happened to it?" She took a deep breath. "I was caught in a human growth machine. It affected my shape." There was a pause. Then her parents both gasped, and her mother covered her mouth. "The old blessing?" she whispered. Nira blinked. "What?" "The stories are true," her father said with awe. "The ancient Valeri scrolls speak of chosen ones who take the form of the Earth Mother. Around her upper shape is the mark of honor and maturity." "Maturity," Nira's voice cracked. "Yes," her mother beamed. "And now, with this mark, you must find a partner. You must marry soon." Nira's jaw dropped. "Marry?" Her father smiled. "We're so proud of you. This is a blessing, not a mistake. We will arrange the first introduction immediately." No, Nira said quickly. "It was just a machine, a coconut machine." Her mother gasped again. "You say it was coconuts? Even better? That's the Earth Mother's fruit?" Nira groaned, hiding her face in her hands. "It's not what you think." Later that day, she told Tom everything. They sat in the storage room, where no one else could hear them. Nira paced back and forth while Tom tried not to laugh too loudly. "They think you're some kind of legend?" he said, holding back a grin. "Yes. And they're going to send marriage offers. Do you understand how embarrassing this is?" Tom raised his hands. "Hey, I'm not judging. But maybe it's not that bad?" Nira spun around. "Not that bad. They called it the old blessing. They want me to find a partner, settle down, wear traditional clothing, and raise coconuts." Tom burst out laughing. Nira threw a soft pillow at him. "This is serious." "No, I know," Tom said, still chuckling. "But come on, Nira. You have to admit it's a little funny." She crossed her arms, her face still glowing. "What's not funny when your parents think you're ready to start a family just because your chest grew?" Tom tried to calm down. Okay, so what are you going to do?" "I already told them no," she said. "But they said they're still going to visit." Tom blinked. "Visit? Like, come here? To the station?" Nira nodded slowly. "They'll be here in 2 days." Tom stared at her, speechless. The next 2 days were filled with chaos. Nira cleaned her room twice. She organized every single file on her computer. She even ironed her lab coat. Tom, on the other hand, was nervous for a different reason. "Nira," he said one evening, "what if your parents think we're, Nira looked at him. "A couple." Tom scratched his head. "Yeah." There was silence. Then Nira said, "Well, we have spent a lot of time together." Tom nodded slowly. "And we had dinner twice." "And you brought me candy," Nira added. They looked at each other, unsure whether to laugh or panic. "I should probably warn them," Nira whispered. The day of the visit arrived. Small Valeri shuttle landed on the platform. Nira stood with Tom near the entrance, her hands shaking. The door opened. Her parents stepped out, her mother wearing long, flowing robes, her father carrying a basket of colorful alien flowers. "Nira," her mother cried. "Look at you. So mature. So healthy." Nira's antennae turned light red. "Hello, Mother. Hello, Father." They turned to Tom. "And this must be him," her father said. "Him?" Tom asked. "The one who blessed you." Tom froze. "Wait, what?" Nira quickly stepped forward. "No, he didn't do anything. He's just a friend." Her parents looked confused. "You were not together?" Tom opened his mouth, then closed it. Nira said quickly, "He's my teammate, nothing more." Her father turned to Tom. Then, "Why is she always with you?" Tom smiled nervously. "'Cause we make good science together." Later, inside the guest lounge, Nira sat with her parents while Tom tried to stay invisible in the corner. Her mother held her hand. "Not upset, dear. We just thought, with this blessing, maybe you found someone who understands you." "I did find someone like that," Nira said softly. "But it's not like that. At least not yet." Tom looked up at her. Her father nodded. "We understand. Just know that we love you. With or without the old blessing, her mother added. But if you do like this human boy, we approve. Mother? When her parents finally left, Nira and Tom stood alone on the deck. That was lot, Tom said. Yes, Nira agreed. Tom looked at her. So, not a couple, huh? Nira blushed. Not yet. Tom smiled. Maybe one day, she said softly. He nodded. I'd like that. They stood side by side, watching the stars again. The misunderstanding had passed, but something deeper remained, Dan. Understanding between two different beings, slowly becoming something more. The space station Orion 12 was usually calm. Its days were filled with science, research, and peaceful teamwork between humans and aliens. But one afternoon, that peace was suddenly broken by a loud, sharp alarm. Emergency alert. Docking bay. 3. All nearby personnel, report immediately. Tom and Nira were in the main lab when the alarm rang out. Both of them jumped to their feet. What's happening? Nira asked. Tom checked the alert on his wrist screen. Containment pod. Failure in the dock. Something dangerous may be leaking. Nira's antennae twitched. We should go help. Tom looked at her. Are you sure? She nodded. Yes, I may look different now, but I'm still a scientist. I can help. They both ran out of the lab toward docking bay 3. When they reached the dock, they found chaos. A large metal container, called a containment pod, was cracked open near the center of the room. Blue steam hissed from the broken side. Crew members in protective suits were trying to seal the crack, but it wasn't working. One officer turned to Tom. We can't shut it. The energy inside is unstable. If it leaks more, it could cause a system failure in this part of the station. Tom looked at the container and frowned. That pod was carrying plasma samples for the fusion core. Tests. If that gets out, it could melt part of the floor. A worried voice came over the radio. Docking systems are heating up. We have less than 15 minutes before this section becomes too dangerous. Nira stepped forward. What do we need to do? Tom pointed to the top of the pod. There's a manual shutoff valve, but it's up high. Too high for most of us to reach in time. We'd need a ladder or a lift, and there's no time. Nira looked up. Then she looked down. At herself. The growth machine had changed. More than just her shape, it had also made her a little stronger and slightly taller. Her Valeri body had adapted to the energy. I think I can reach it, she said. Tom's eyes widened. Are you sure? It's risky. The valve might be hot, and that steam could burn you. I'll be careful, Nira said. She ran toward the pod while Tom and the others cleared the area. Climbing up the side of the container was harder than she expected. The metal surface was smooth and slippery from the mist, but her long arms and stronger body helped. Bit by bit, she pulled herself up. Tom watched nervously from below. Come on, Nira, you can do it. When she reached the top, she could see the valves glowing red, just out of reach. She took off one glove and wrapped her hand in a cloth from her coat. Then, stretching forward carefully, she grabbed the valve and turned it with all her strength. Click. The steam stopped. The pod went silent. For a second, the whole dock was still. Then the intercom buzzed. Containment successful. Pressure levels stabilizing. Cheers. Erupted around the room. Tom ran toward the pod as Nira slowly climbed down. Her face was covered in sweat, and her scarf was soaked. But she was smiling. You did it, Tom said, catching her as she stepped down. That was amazing, Nira laughed. I didn't think I'd be useful like this. But it worked. Tom looked at her proudly. You saved the dock. Later that evening, Nira sat in the common lounge. Crew members came by to thank her one by one. You're stronger than you look, a guard said. That was real bravery, a young engineer added. Someone handed her a sticker that said coconut power. She blushed but laughed at the joke. Tom sat beside her, holding 2 cups of juice. Well, he said, I think today proves you're more than just a scientist. Nira smiled. I didn't want anyone to think I was weak just because I changed. No one thinks that now, Tom said. You've earned everyone's respect, including mine. She sipped her juice. I still feel shy sometimes when people look at me. It's hard not to think they're judging. They're looking because you did something big, Tom replied. You're different. Yes, but. In a good way, she looked at him. Do you really believe that? He nodded. Absolutely. Later that night, Neera returned to her room. She took off her coat and looked at herself in the mirror again, as she no longer felt awkward about her. Reflection. She saw someone strong. Someone who had faced fear and stepped forward. Her communicator. Beeped. It was a message from her parents. We saw the news from the station. We're proud of you. The Earth Mother would be too. Neera smiled. The next day, the commander of Orion 12 held a small ceremony. Neera was given a service medal for bravery. She stood on the platform beside Tom as the crew clapped and cheered. When the commander handed her the medal, said you may have had an accident with a machine. But what came after was no accident. That was courage. Neera nodded, feeling warm inside. She glanced at Tom, who gave her a thumbs dash up. That evening, as the stars filled the sky again, Neera and Tom stood on the observation deck. No words were needed. After a long moment, Neera said, quietly, maybe I'm starting to like these coconuts after all. Tom laughed. Told you they were special. The stars outside Orion 12 glowed brightly, but inside the lab things were quiet. Only the soft buzz of computers filled the room. Tom sat near the growth field generator, tapping on his datapad. After weeks of tests and safety checks, the reversal program was finally ready. He looked at the machine, then at the small control panel. One button. That's all it would take to return Neera back to how she was before the accident. He leaned back inside. Now all we need is her decision. Neera stood in front of her mirror once again. Her long coat hung beside her. She was wearing a simple white outfit from her home planet. Her silver hair shimmered in the light, and her soft blue skin glowed calmly. She touched her reflection and whispered, Am I still the same person? A week ago she would have said no, but now? She wasn't sure. Her body had changed, yes, but so had her heart. She wasn't the shy, quiet girl who had hidden behind lab coats and scarves. She had helped save a docking bay. She had received a medal. She had made friends. And most importantly, she had grown, not just in shape, but in courage. She walked to the lab slowly, her footsteps quiet. When she entered, Tom looked up and smiled gently. It's ready, he said. I ran the last test an hour ago, safe and clean, no side effects. Neera nodded. Thank you. He walked over to her and showed the tablet screen. One press, and everything goes back to normal. She stared at the button. It was small and simple, but the choice wasn't. Tom watched her silently, giving her space. Finally, she spoke. What do you think I should do? Tom blinked. Me? Yes. You've seen me before and after. You've helped me through everything. What's your honest opinion? Tom rubbed the back of his neck. Honestly, I think you're amazing. Either way. Neera smiled, but her antennae turned to soft blue, curious, and shy. I mean, Tom continued, this accident, it wasn't supposed to happen. But it showed everyone who you really are. Strong, brave, kind. He paused, then added, if you want to change back, I'll support you. But if you want to stay like this, I think that's okay too. Neera looked down at her hands. When I first changed, I felt ashamed. I thought everyone was staring, laughing, I know, Tom said gently. But then, I started noticing something else. People began to listen when I spoke. They smiled when I entered a room, and I stopped being afraid. She looked up, meeting Tom's eyes. I'm still me, but maybe I'm a little more than before. Tom nodded. Exactly. They stood in silence for a few moments. Then Neera asked, Can we test something?
Ow.
Tilted his head. Sure. She walked to the mirror in the corner and stood tall. Look at me. Now imagine I never used the growth machine. That I still looked like before. Tom crossed his arms. Okay. Neera smiled softly. Would you still want to eat lunch with me every day? He smiled, yes. Would you still bring me coconut candy? Definitely. Did you still think She stopped? Tom stepped closer. What? She shook her head. Nothing. But her antennae turned a soft pink. Tom placed the tablet on the table. It's your choice, Nira. I won't touch the machine unless you ask. She nodded. I know. She walked toward the control panel and stood there for a long time. Then, slowly, she reached for the button. Tom held his breath, but instead of pressing it, she turned off the screen. I think I'll stay like this, she said. Tom exhaled, smiling. Are you sure? Yes, she replied. The old me wanted to be small, quiet, and unnoticed. But the new me wants to shine. He chuckled. You already do. Later that evening, the two of them sat on the observation deck watching. Earth spun below. The stars twinkled above like tiny lights. And everything felt calm again. So, Tom said, does this mean the coconut machine is a success? Nira laughed. Maybe, but only if we rename it. What name do you have in mind? She thought for a moment. How about Confidence Builder 3000? Tom grinned. That's a long name, but it fits. They sat in silence for a while. Then, Tom asked, Can I ask you something real? Nira looked at him. Of course. Do you ever think about us? She turned slightly. Sometimes Tom looked nervous. Would it be strange? Human and of Larry? She shook. Her head, not strange, just different, but good different. Their eyes met. Slowly, gently, and for the first time, Nira didn't blush out of embarrassment. She blushed because her heart was full that night. Nira wrote a message to her parents. Dear Mother and Father, I chose to stay as I am, not because of the old blessing, but because I finally feel proud of myself. I found someone who makes me feel seen, not for how I look, but for who I am. Thank you for believing in me, love, Nira. She sent the message, then sat back with a smile. No matter what came next, she was ready. 2 weeks had passed since Nira made her choice. Life aboard Orion 12 returned to its normal rhythm. Scientists continued their research, engineers fixed equipment, and the stars outside the large station windows continued to shine quietly. But for Nira, everything felt different. No more peaceful, more joyful. She walked with confidence through the halls, her long silver braid bouncing gently behind her. People greeted her with smiles, not whispers. She no longer hid behind scarves or oversized coats. Her antennae often glowed soft pink or bright green. Now colors of calm and curiosity, Tom, too, had changed. He no longer just saw Nira as a lab partner or fellow scientist. He had grown to admire her strength, her kindness, and the quiet courage she had shown through everything. Still, one thing was bothering him. One quiet evening, Tom sat alone in the empty garden room, a special part of the station filled with plants from different worlds. There were earth flowers, glowing mushrooms from Titan, and floating pollen clouds from a planet called Vieri. Nira had gone to check reports. He waited there with a small box in his hand. Okay, Tom, he whispered to himself. You've fixed machines, repaired drones, and even helped stop a leak in the engine core. You can do this. He looked at the small wooden box in his hand. Inside was a tiny charm shaped like a star, carved from an old earth tree. On the back of the charm was a symbol, a coconut, drawn like a cartoon. Tom chuckled. She's going to tease me for that. When Nira entered the garden room, she saw Tom standing beside a glowing tree. Firefly-like lights floated around. His head, he looked nervous. Tom, she asked, stepping closer. Oh, hey, he said quickly, hiding the box behind his back. Nira smiled, curious. What are you doing here? I was waiting for you, he said. I have something for you. Her antennae twitched, glowing purple with surprise. Something for me? Tom brought out the box and handed it to her. It's not much, but it's special. Nira opened it slowly. Her eyes widened. When she saw the little star charm, she picked it up carefully, holding it in her palm. It's beautiful, she said. It's from Earth, Tom explained, carved by hand. I added the coconut because Well, it kind of became your story.
Ow.
Laughed softly. Yes. The story of the girl who grew by accident. Tom looked serious. You didn't just grow on the outside, you changed on the inside too. I think you're the most amazing person I've ever met. Her antennae glowed bright pink. Now, Tom, she said softly. He stepped a little closer.
Ow.
I know we come from different worlds.
Ow.
I know things can be complicated. But I wanted to ask. He paused. Took a breath. Would you like to be with me not just as lab partners, but for real? It was a long, silent moment. Then Nira smiled. I thought you'd never ask. Tom's eyes lit up. Really? She nodded. Yes, I'd like that very much. From that day on, they were more than just teammates. They worked together, laughed together, and spent time in the garden nearly every evening. Their bond grew strong not because of an accident or a strange machine, but because of the kindness and honesty they shared. But their journey wasn't over yet. One morning, Commander Elric called them to the control room. I have a special mission, he said, looking at both Nira and Tom. A new research station is being built near Jupiter's moons. We're sending a team of trusted scientists to lead the early work. We'd like both of you to go. Tom and Nira looked at each other. New station? Tom asked. New labs? New discoveries, Elric said. And a fresh start for both of you, if you're ready. Nira's heart raced. A new place meant new challenges, but also new adventures. Tom turned to her. Well, want to go explore Jupiter? Nira smiled. Let's grow something new there, too. The next few days passed in a blur. They packed their things, said goodbye to friends, and shared hugs and laughs with the team that had supported them through everything. Clara gave Nira a notebook covered with flower stickers. For your new discoveries, she said. Ben handed Tom a box of tools and said, in case you break something on the news station. When their shuttle finally launched, Orion 12 slowly disappeared behind them. Nara looked out the window, her star charm hanging from her wrist. Do you think they'll ever forget the coconut story? She asked. Tom laughed. Never. You're a legend now. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Then I'll just have to make even better stories. As their ship moved through space, Nira thought about everything that had happened. She had arrived at Orion 12 quiet and unsure. One accident with a strange human machine had changed her body. But the real change had come from her heart. She had faced confusion, whispers, and embarrassment. But she had also found friendship, courage, love, and now with Tom by her side, she was ready for the next chapter. Not as the girl who once blushed at everything, but as the woman who stood tall, proud, and full of life.